Good morning, everyone. Just letting people in. And we will get started in just a moment. I don't know if everybody can see this, but I've been watching the moon in the mornings, and she started off when we started this. She was behind my head, like almost due west. And now she has slowly migrated around, and now she's southeast. So anyways, that's been super fun to just watch her on her migration. She's a little fingernail sliver right now. So we're headed towards our dark moon, which is my favorite moon phase, in case anybody was curious. I'm going to give it just another second here because we have a couple people who are pretty consistently on, and they normally come in within a minute or two. So we're going to wait just a second. In the meantime, you can all pretend to be me and look to see where the moon is. See if you notice where she was and where she is now. It's funny, in Tolkien's writings, the moon was a man. And I've always really wanted to respect that because I respect everything Tolkien did. But I've always had a really hard time with the moon as a man. It was just not something that resonated for me. And I can't remember why he said he did that. I think it was rooted in some kind of Norse ancient tradition, because of course that's what Tolkien would have rooted something in. Good morning, Zoe. Yeah, I love that. That's great. We're just talking about the moon. I'm just rambling about the moon for a minute while we waited for everyone to join. I had a feeling that there'd be a couple of people who were still trying to get on. So now that we're here, good morning. Oh, my favorite moon phase is the dark moon. Yeah. You know, which is funny because I was born on a full moon. So I don't know if it's just like the opposite thing, like the grass is always greener. I don't know, but I was born on a full moon with my sun and my moon in direct opposition. So would that be a full moon? Maybe that would be a dark moon. If the sun and the moon are in opposition. Anyways, guys, this doesn't matter. This isn't important. This is my brain got distracted because I was tracing the moon's pattern across the sky. For those of you who are just joining us, what happened was I got distracted. So we are going to do a practice today that oh, I love that. That's really cool. Zoe, thank you for sharing that. That's really awesome. Yeah, I love the dark moon. I always have. Okay, so focusing in. Today we are going to talk about a practice that a lot of you will recognize from Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga wasn't created until like the late 1960s. It draws from Buddhist and Hindu tantric texts. It's based pretty directly off of texts from the Mahabharata, or we would lump all of that together. Yeah, we would lump all of that together. There's some of it that's influenced by the Upanishads too. Anyways, it doesn't matter. All of that to say, if you're studying Kundalini Yoga is a fairly new branch of yoga, but it is drawing from older tantric texts. And so the practice that I learned, I did not learn from a Kundalini teacher. I learned from a Buddhist, or from a Hindu tantric scholar. Oh my gosh, guys, sorry if my morning brain is not there. It's because I slept too deep. Um, so for those of you who, the only reason I'm sharing that is if you have done Kundalini practices, my understanding is that they do this slightly differently. I don't think that's wrong. I actually have a lot of respect for Kundalini. The creator of it was actually like a really interesting, fascinating human. And I thought what they did with it was really cool. But the point is, if you've studied this in Kundalini, you maybe done it slightly different. So if that's the case and your practice is slightly different and you want to modify this to be what you have experienced in Kundalini, great, go for it. And if you've never done this before, then it won't matter to you at all. So it feels important to say though, because I routinely will have people in classes when we do this practice who are like, wait, I learned it like this. And I'm like, cool, then do it like that. But this is how I learned it. From my understanding, the difference is that I was studying with someone who was not a practitioner of Kundalini so much as they were a practitioner of the same text that Kundalini was later then built off of. So. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to awaken the energy in our body, because remember yesterday I challenged you all. I said, if you can make today the day that you try to challenge yourself to stay awake for the whole day, right? After you wake up in the morning. And this doesn't have to be a forever thing. Like if you get through today and you're like, holy smokes, that was terrible. I need to go back to my nap cycle after I get up for the sunrise. That's okay. Obviously, if you're sick or you're recovering from something, please, for the love of everything holy, like honor your body and get a lot of rest. But for those of you who are healthy and otherwise have no reason to not challenge yourself to step into that ownership, today would be a beautiful day to do it. So we're going to do a practice where we call up the energy from basically the earth and from the sun. And we're going to charge all of the centers of our body. So we're going to start with the earth, and we're going to start by just really pulling the energy up. So you can do this sitting in a chair, and you can do it sitting on the ground. You can technically do it lying down, but I don't recommend that because you might fall asleep. So what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that we have an energy center at the root of our body. So right, whatever you're sitting on, right? So the part of your body that's lowest to the earth. And I want you to think of it like a sponge, okay? So it's a round sponge. And I want you to understand that that round sponge is always picking up the negative electrons from the earth's energy. Now, obviously, the closer you are to the earth, the more electrons there are, but it doesn't matter. There's always some in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze that sponge, and then we're going to use the spine as a straw to siphon that energy up the body all the way. If we can, we want to get all the way to the third eye or even the crown of the head. This is an incredibly intense practice if you've never done it before. So if you're following this for the first time and you're like, wow, that was difficult. Yeah, man, it is. I've been studying this practice for, I don't even know, going on 20 years, and it still some days is really difficult. The more you do it, the easier it gets. But how we're going to do that physically, you're going to imagine that everything at the root of your body is being squeezed up and in. So you're going to squeeze your butt cheeks together, like, you know, you're going to tense those up. You're going to, if you're female, you're going to do the sensation of like practicing a Kegel. If you're male, I've been told, can't speak from personal experience, that it's like stopping pee in the middle of a urine stream. We want to flex and squeeze all of the muscles down there, okay? Then what we're going to do, I'm going to be guiding you. You're going to imagine that that pressure and all of that energy of that sponge squeezing, releasing those electrons, is now in that a little pool down there. And then we're going to use the breath to siphon that energy up the spine. And we're going to do that in a few ways. We're going to pull in the diaphragm, the stomach, as we do this. So we'll start by squeezing everything at the bottom, tuck the tummy in, pulling in like you're bringing your belly button to your spine. That's going to help create that suction. That's going to start to draw it up. As you start to get into your chest, now we're going to need to get to the next point, which is the throat. To do this, we're going to tuck the chin back towards the throat and try to restrict the throat a little bit. That's going to create another suction point to pull that energy up into the throat. And then from there, you're going to use your breath through your nose. And that last sip of air through the nose is what's going to pull that energy up into the third eye or even the crown. Okay. It can go either place. If you get it to the third eye, great. If you get it to the crown, that's great too. Okay. So that's what we're doing. We're pretending that we're using our body to create suction to draw that energy, those electrons up all the way up into the head. This is literally taking the negative ionic life force that comes from the earth that lives in the root of our body. It's drawing it up through all of the energy centers of our body, and it's pulling it into our head. Why are we doing this? Mornings like this, I wish this was a live class. We are doing this because we are creators. We are using the sun's light to remind ourselves that we are creators. We have got to open the part of our body and our brain that allows us to create, and that is up here, right? Everything happens, everything we create in the thought field first. Everything we create in the emotional field first. So we're going to bring all of that energy awareness up. We're going to get all of that going. Then what we're going to do is we're going to bring the sun's light into that. So the sun's light is going to purify. It's going to bring in all of that resetting energy that allows us to wash clean of any of that energy that is holding stagnant patterns, stagnant beliefs, anything we don't want anymore. It's going to come in, it's going to wash that out. And then we're basically going to be a pristine bubble of divine creative energy up here as we go forth for the rest of our day. Okay. So that's an explanation of what we're going to do. If anybody has a question, I know we don't typically get real chatty on these morning ones, but just in case there's anybody out there who is just completely lost, now would be the time to throw a hand up or send a message. Otherwise, I'm going to start guiding us through this. We're also going to be doing this with our eyes open. If you have practiced this in Kundalini, I am about 85% sure that they do this with their eyes closed. Cool. I'm not seeing anybody typing, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Are we holding the locks for inhales and exhale? So we're going to try to do it all. That's a great question, Shella. Thank you so much. Locks, for everybody who's curious, those points where you squeeze the body, those are called locks in yoga. They're bandhas. So that translates to a lock or a bind. So are we going to hold those the whole time we're inhaling, exhaling? Yes. For right now, I'm going to have you not worry too much about your breath. I want you just to get familiar with the sensation of drawing that up because your eyes are going to be open. This will trip people up too. So it might mess with your breathing pattern. The most important thing is that once you get to your throat, then you need to be able to inhale through your nose to sip that energy up into the third eye. So if you already have this in your practice, see if you can use the breath to do one inhale to get the entire lock. If you can get everything to the top of your head in that inhale, then you should be good to hold that lock and practice holding the lock through the inhales and the exhales. For those of you who have never done this before, and this is your first time, don't worry about what I just said. I just want you to focus on getting that sensation of siphoning energy up the body into the head. No matter what your breathing is doing, don't care. Okay. Not the most important part right now. Like when we first are learning this, it's just learning to feel the body drawing that energy up. I'm going to add some visualizations while I guide you for those of you who like to visualize. So for those of you who have this in your practice, I know for a fact Shella has this in her practice. Go ahead, see if you can use one inhale to get all of those binds and locks in place, get that energy to the top of the head. You can then exhale, come back with the inhale, using the inhale to be the drawing up, using the exhale to be the builder, right? Where everything's up here. So hopefully Shella, that answered that question. It was a great question. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, let's do this. So eyes are going to stay open. Okay. This is going to be tricky. So I want you to go ahead and take a second. Eyes are open. If you can, find your eastern horizon. And you're just going to notice the quality of light for a second. I just want you to observe what the light looks like as the sun is rising, because it should look different than it did when we started. I know for me, it is significantly lighter out right now. The light has a much more white quality than the blue that it used to have at this time. Good. So just really coming into the present moment. I want you to drop in. We've talked about this. There's a little marble in the center of your chest. I want you to drop in to that marble in the center of your chest. Find that awareness point. Just feel yourself where you are. Feel yourself sitting exactly where you are. Become very conscious of you in the present moment. Again, eyes are open. We're learning that we don't have to separate what we're seeing from our inner knowing. This is really powerful practice. Good. Now you're going to start to play with this. So first of all, just go ahead and squeeze that lower part of the body, drawing everything up and in. I want you to imagine that sensation of squeezing that sponge. This is just our first little practice round. Go ahead and then squeeze the belly button to the spine, feeling that drawing up sensation. You start to feel it now in the chest. Now I want you to go ahead, tuck that chin a little bit down towards the chest. See if you can continue that drawing up sensation. And then use that last little sniff of inhale through the nose and shoot that energy up into the head. Now that last part can be kind of difficult. So if you don't feel a ton of movement, that's okay. And just release. So now we've practiced the movement. I'm going to go ahead and get you guided in a nice little rhythm here. If at any point you fall out of the rhythm, just relax and wait for the next inhale. Join us back at the inhale or go rogue. If you're a manifester, you've got that energy in you, just go rogue and set yourself up to practice however you want to, okay? So we're going to go ahead and take a couple of clearing breaths. Breathing in through the nose, pausing before the top of the breath, and then finishing the inhale with a sip in through the nose. And then exhaling through the mouth. We're going to do that 2 more times. Inhaling through the nose, pausing before the top, finishing with a sip, and then exhaling through the mouth. Good. Inhaling through the nose, finishing before the top, sipping in, and then exhaling through the mouth. On the next inhale, slow, long inhale, we begin to squeeze at the root of the body, squeezing that sponge, pushing all of those electrons that charge up to the lower abdomen, squeezing the belly button into the spine, continuing the drawing of that charge, imagining that charge like a golden beam of light coming up. It comes up into the chest, tucking the chin to the chest, feeling that constriction, squeeze, start to pull that energy up into the throat, rising up the chest, and now sipping in with that nose. See if we can get that energy up here a little bit. Good. If you're not done with your breath, hold it for just a second. Continue feeling that pulling. If you're done with your breath, go ahead and release and relax. And we're going to do it again. Inhaling, we squeeze the bottom of the body like a sponge, pulling everything up and in. Feel that energy start to rise, the pressure starting to build, tucking the belly button into the spine, feeling that pressure continue, tucking the chin down to the chest, feeling that energy siphon up the body. Sipping in, breathing in, pull that energy up into the head. Very good. Hold it here if you can. If you are good, continue to hold for just a second. If you need to exhale, exhale, relax. All right, so this time what we're gonna do, we're gonna draw it all up again, and then we're gonna hold it at the top and take a few breaths, trying to just continue to siphon energy up while we hold our awareness at the top of the head or the third eye, and we continue to squeeze everything. I know this isn't easy, you guys are doing great. So taking a clearing breath in through the nose, sipping in the last bit, exhale through the mouth. And on the next inhale, inhaling in through the nose, squeezing everything up and in, hold it, pull everything up and in, feeling that energy rise into the belly button. Imagine golden, like a thermometer, an old school thermometer, tucking the belly button to the spine, pulling the energy up into the chest, tucking the chin to the chest, just a little bit, creating that pressure, using the inhale to finish pulling the energy up into the breath. Now hold everything, squeeze there, keep the eyes focused on the horizon. Continue as you breathe. Even as you exhale, try to hold that squeeze, that pressure. See if you can build a ton of pressure up there. If you want to, you can actually take your hand, put it over the top of your head, and work on drawing energy into your hand through the top of your head. Keep squeezing. See how long you can squeeze. See how long you can hold that. Continue to imagine that energy rising through the body like an old school thermometer. The mercury is rising. You've got this. Hold it for just another second. Release and relax. Good. You guys are doing awesome. We're going to do that 2 more times. Okay. You've got this. On the second one, we're going to add another piece to it. It's not going to take very long though. So you guys are good. You got this. All right. Breathing in to clean. And exhale. All right. Next, inhale, draw everything up and in. Squeeze at that root, pulling all of that energy up from the root, squeezing everything, belly button to the spine like the mercury rising, feeling that energy, that pressure starting to rise, tucking the chin a little to the chest, creating that vacuum. As it continues to surface, we get to the top, sipping that energy up into the head. And now holding, squeeze, 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 hold everything. Really focus on drawing that energy up to the crown. You can use your hand here if you want to help pull it up. Good, good, good. Holding, squeezing, feeling that pressure build. It should almost feel like you can't possibly hold this for another second. It starts to get a lot of energy. Your body temperature might be rising. Good, release. Awesome. All right, and last time, inhale, start your inhale, squeezing, drawing everything up and in again, really getting that root, that bottom part of your body, really close that off, squeeze it like a sponge, wring out every last drop of electrons, pulling them up the body. Good. All the way up, tucking the chin a little bit, create that pressure, pulling it up into the top of the head, holding there, really feeling that energy start to expand the head, feel the vibration in the head, visualizing the energy rising through the body, really squeezing everything, making sure that belly button is tucked up and in, chin is down just a little bit to create that siphon, really holding that energy in the top of the head. I want you to visualize that the top of the head is now vibrating, full of all of this energy and light, that you have brought all of your creator energy all the way to the top of your head. It is now a chalice that has been polished. It is ready to be filled. If it is in your practice to try to hold this, you can. If not, release, but keep your awareness at the top of your head and your third eye. Now, I want you to imagine that the light from the sun coming in is the most cleansing, healing, powerful light imaginable. I want you to know that the light coming in from the sun, coming in through your eyes, traveling into that beautiful chalice, that divine chalice, right? The Ark of the Covenants, and some of you might even recognize what I'm describing here, is now ready to hold all of the divine codes from the light as it comes in. You're going to pull that energy in through your eyes, and you're going to allow it to be held in that chalice that you have just polished. This is pure creative potential. The sun's rays coming into this chalice you've just polished, okay? Feel yourself literally sipping in as you breathe in, pull the light in through your eyes into your head. I want you to feel the lightness in your head here. I want you to feel what it feels like to have all of that pure energy being pulled into the upper levels of your body, right? Good. You're breathing in through the eyes, pulling the light in, filling yourself with the light of the sun. The light of the sun, which holds literally, scientifically, all of the codes that we need to have healthy DNA, to reset epigenetic switches, to be able to control our hormone production, to release any and all extra cortisol, adrenaline. All of that is coming from the sun. I'm not using the word code here mysteriously. I'm using it quite literally. Okay, so pulling all of that in. And now we will close our eyes for just 1 second. Now close your eyes, and I want you to imagine that that chalice, which is holding all of that beautiful energy, I want you to imagine that there's a tiny little hole in the bottom of the chalice, and that that light becomes liquid, and it slowly starts to drop down the back of your throat from the center of your head, traveling down the spine in beautiful rivers of little drops of golden liquid, all the way down to the root of your body. And as it travels down, it purifies. It leaves the pure form of energy that your body needs to power through the rest of the day, to cleanse itself, to prepare. It is the perfect source code to release any illness, any trauma, any anger, any strife, any sadness, to move us into a place of divine neutrality where we are magnetic and electric. Beautiful. All right. Stay here with your eyes closed for just a moment. Know that you have enough beautiful sunlight in that chalice to fill you, slowly drip through the entire day, right? You've now set yourself up to have this beautiful, pure energy for the rest of the day. So today is the day. Try to stay up for the rest of the day if you can. Don't be hard on yourself if you feel like you need to go to bed super early tonight, but see if you can make it up through the entire day. Get your midday sunlight. Use your app so you don't get burned. As always, I'm here for questions. I think most of you have my cell number. It's in my email signature. You can email me, you can text me, whatever you need. I hope this practice was beautiful. You can open your eyes and spend another minute gazing out at the sunlight, doing some of the infinity sign practices, whatever you'd like to do with the rest of your morning. As always, thank you all so much. I love you. Have a beautiful day.